most difficult we're trying to get files, the FBI files, and we got them through the Freedom of Information Act, FBI files on Gene and Generoso. Now, we got these files, and the ones on Gene had 50 pages were redacted. In other words, 50 pages were missing. So we went back and we appealed and said, let's see the rest of it. And they said, no, you can't. So we appealed again, and they said, no, you'll have to talk to the CIA about those 50 pages. And I said, what could be of national security importance of something that's happened years and years ago? So we are still waiting. We have been denied by the CIA to look at those pages. So that is very intriguing. This almost implies that Gene somehow was, continued to stay involved with the CIA long after he left in 1951.
Was the Inquirer funded by Frank Costello and his money? The answer is yes. But keep in mind that because of my grandfather, Frank Costello was like a nephew, not in the sense of mafia nephew, but it was just like he was a friend of the family.
He was the godson of Frank Costello, who at the time was the #1 mafia capo in the Northeast.
Gene decided he wanted to buy this newspaper, this rag, the New York Inquirer, and he didn't have the money. So that's when he turned to Uncle Frank. And Uncle Frank gave him the $25,000 down payment to buy this paper for $75,000.
also Pope is pretty much anonymous to most students of journalism, which is sort of ironic because he was so influential in changing the face of American journalism.
Circulation hovered at a dismal 17,000 as Pope revamped his paper again and again, trying to find the right formula for success.
He changed it into a broad sheet, he changed it into a racing sheet. He was looking for a formula that was different.
And one day, he happened to see this gruesome accident, and he realized that people were attracted to it. It was crowded around this accident. It was a bloody, gory mess, and he was not a fan of blood and gore by any means.
I personally would turn my head. I couldn't stand it, but I knew they were attracted to that.
He went back, and he had this epiphany, you know, aha, gore, that's what's going to sell.
I suppose you could say that we have a knack of knowing what the public wants to read. That's a very broad definition of our success, or explanation for our success. Specifics, I guess, I've been asked many times what the magic formula is. There is no magic formula. I would have to say it's gut feel. It's a feel for what people want to read and what they're interested in. And I guess it appears obvious that the reason is exposure. The public doesn't know the movie star as well as they know the TV star that's in their homes every week. I don't imagine somebody who makes a movie once or twice a year gets 1/1000th the exposure of a star in a regular weekly TV show.
What's the largest selling news weekly in America? It isn't Newsweek, it isn't even Time anymore. In first place is the self-proclaimed news weekly, the National Enquirer, the one you can buy for 30 cents at the checkout counter of your supermarket. The fact is that by any standard, the National Enquirer is a publishing phenomenon. It sells almost 4.5 million copies every week with a bizarre brew of fact, rumor, allegation, and discovery.
They're getting swamped with it, inundated with it, and I think they've just about had it. I think they're searching for something that's going to tell them there's a good side to life. Everything isn't bad.
Well, the formula works. As we said, more than 4 million copies a week roll off his presses and into supermarkets coast to coast, displayed at checkout counters rack after rack. Would you pay Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis if she were to write an exclusive series for the National?
She could name her own price.
Have you not approached her?
Sure.
And offered her?
I don't know if we did it directly. We have offered. I don't know how much, Mike.
I've heard 500,000.
Could be.
And then I heard 1 million.
It's possible, but I don't know if that actually got to her. I know we were talking about it.
But you would offer her?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
48-year-old mild-mannered Gene Pope, an MIT graduate, a CIA alumnus, seems an unlikely figure to head the flamboyant Enquirer. But he rules it like the Godfather. 1 hour each day, his minions sit across the desk from him in the city room while he checks them out. Nothing gets in the paper without his personal approval. And his wrath, when roused, is said to turn him mean and petty. His employees call him an unpredictable tyrant who can fire as quickly as he hires.
Blessed and cursed to have worked at the Enquirer in its heyday in the 70s. It was heaven and it was hell. It was heaven because we were paid obscenely amounts of money that no journalist in America was getting, but we were. It was hell because Gene would fire people capriciously.
To take it a step further, you know, here he wasn't the stereotypical owner of a tabloid. I mean, here's a man that graduated MIT, was in the CIA, a very intellectual, complex man. You wouldn't picture him being a tabloid owner.
And then finally, in the 70s, in the late 70s, 1977, the greatest single issue in the history of American tabloid journalism, Elvis Presley.
In August of 1977, the death of the king of rock and roll cemented the Enquirer's position as the king of the tabloids.
And I think I was more amazed at what the Enquirer was able to accomplish within the next 72 hours than anything else I've ever been involved in.
When they were after the Elvis story, one of their reporters disguised himself as a priest to try to get in.
Now the reporters are scattering all over Memphis with cash, you know, bribing police, firemen, the emergency technicians. Meanwhile, Gene was not satisfied. I want a picture of Elvis in the coffin.
In those days, you didn't have all the high-tech stuff you do now, so we had to rig this Miniature camera, it was a one-shot deal. Either got it or you didn't.
And paid some cousins, the second cousins of Elvis, to try to go in and snap a picture when, you know, and one of them did. One got caught, a couple of them chickened out, but one managed to go in at about 2 in the morning, one quick shot, and for $20,000. That was plastered on the front page. It sold almost 7 million copies.
Journalists, the mainstream journalists, you know, oh, this is shocking, how dare you, how could you? And we said, look, this is a guy who everybody wants that last look at. They all want to be there at that wake before that coffin is closed. Hate wouldn't be a strong enough word for the way the mainstream media felt about it.
When the war was on, he donated supplies and food, and you know, he electrified the town when he went back, and he was the town. My expectations were far. I mean, the trip. I had to say to myself in the middle of the trip, "Is this surreal? Is this really happening?" Let me pinch myself because, you know, it went so well. It was unbelievable. I expected it to be a moving experience. I expected to learn a lot, but it was so much beyond that. I would say it was the single most important thing I've ever done in my life, or the thing that really moved me the most, and really not only put me in touch with my roots and my past and my history and my lineage, but again, it put me in touch with who I am. As I said before, it gave me a sense of who I am as a person.
Io stavo nelle piccole italiane, andavamo a scuola. Siamo andati tutti in fila, ci hanno portato i maestri sopra la fontana e là dovevamo aspettare che arrivava da Benevento.
Dopo ci ha mandato della farina al comune e al paese per distribuirla a tutti i cittadini.
E così si è fatta una grande festa. L'hanno presa sulle braccia alla fontana e l'hanno portata fino in chiesa.
E che pregio era per lui, che cosa. È stata una cosa troppo bella, poi è fatta una...
I traveled with Paul David Pope to his ancestral home with him. And it wasn't just a trip that you went and stayed in a lot of restaurants and ate a lot of good food. It was a tremendous experience. And when he walked into a Parisa, and the flags were waving, and the little children were hugging and kissing him, you immediately understood what the Pope family meant in that region. And you could see in Paul's face how overwhelmed he was, and you could see the tears come to his eyes.
Hearing it from, you know, countless hundreds of people, some of the things he had done, and although he could be this tough businessman and built an empire, also knowing the compassionate side, it really, for me in my life, put everything into perspective. And it's been a journey that it's been a really neat journey, and to trace the roots, I don't regret it, and it's helped me grow as a person.